What is your feeling on Philly fans?
I actually do respect him because I feel like they, more than any team, and I'll probably get in trouble for saying this. I mean, I hate Philly. Just let me put that out there. I hate them. Their connection between city and team is better than anyone. The city almost feels a part of that team.
And now NFL IQ with Cynthia Frelund and Logan Ryan. Welcome to Week 13's edition of NFL IQ. I'm Cynthia Frelund here with two of my very favorite people ever. It's Thanksgiving week. I am so grateful for both Zack and for Logan. Guys, how are you doing? And more importantly, what is your favorite Thanksgiving side?
We're doing well. My favorite side is definitely the traditional stuffing all day long, and I'm looking forward to getting a chance to kick my feet up and watch the games on Thursday for the first time in over a decade. So that's going to be a lot of fun with the family, eating some turkey, watching some games.
Yeah, I love this week every year, obviously. And this is a frequently asked question, though. The favorite, I think they ask every player this, every interview, every year
Yep.
I've ever done it this week. So putting some thought into this, I'm going to go with the dinner rolls, biscuits or dinner rolls, and then the gravy. Because whoever's house you go to, that turkey might not be cooked right. And everyone might have their own family sides, and that could be very different from family to family. I don't know how much seasoning some people put on their food culturally and whatnot. So I feel like the rolls and the gravy can kind of make up, soup up everything else that you need to kind of get through the dish, depending who the chef is.
Well, I love those answers. I am a huge, I like to cook and bake and try new things. And this year, luckily, this will come out. Hopefully, none of my game day morning people will hear this, but I'm trying this new thing where for the entire crew, I'm making them pie cookies. So it's a pecan or apple or pumpkin pie in a cookie so they can take them home to their families after our show. I'm a psycho about this. This is like my thing I do every year. I'm super grateful to be able to work on the holiday and be in people's homes. Like, who wants to hang out with me on Thanksgiving? Like, it's cool. So that's what I'm doing this year. So hopefully those are good. But my favorite side, I gotta go with Zack here, and it's definitely stuffing for me. But
So Cynthia, have you
that's just
ever have you
because
ever
I
cooked
don't
them
eat.
before? The pie cookies? First time?
Nope, first time. First time out the gate.
Okay, here's my advice though, just from having to give advice a lot of my life. Big games, we would say, is not the day to try something new, right? Today is not the day I'm bringing out the new cleat. Today is not the day I'm trying that new coverage out in so Thanksgiving's a big cooking opportunity. So I will say I love, your thought behind this and audacity to try it. But if it doesn't go well, just say I told you so because you tried something brand new on maybe the biggest cooking holiday in history.
Well, maybe a dry run tonight. We get a
Yeah, you
dry run
gotta
maybe tonight.
we get a preseason game in.
The good news is I will have Christmas to redeem myself because I also do for each one of our we do bags of cookies. So I do like probably 18 different cookies. No joke. It's like a psycho move I do. It's a little over the top, but as you guys know, that's how I'm. Anyways, subscribe to the show. Make sure to comment, follow Zack Martin, follow Logan Ryan, follow me on all of the socials so you can never miss anything great that we all have to say, obviously. But we watched a really epic game this past week. The Colts went into Arrowhead. It was a close matchup until the fourth quarter. I mean, it looked like the Colts were going to pull this one off. There were huge playoff implications for that. Like, I model out the season, and for me, if the Chiefs would have lost this game, their chances to make the playoffs would have fallen to something like 43%, which would be very, very low. So when you're looking at this game, I'm going to pull out a number that felt important to me. And how about you guys tell me if the math was kind of mathing here, or if it was just kind of like a function of like, that's an interesting stat, but it's not really helpful. Does that sound like a good way to handle this
Let's
game?
do it.
So one of the key things I saw in this game was the kind of shutting down of Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor, who'd been this wrecking ball all season long. And he had 3 forced tackles only in this game. He had a season low 10 yards after forcing missed tackles. But the one that really stands out to me was how often he was hit behind the line of scrimmage. 63% of his attempts were not even ones that allowed him to cross the line of scrimmage. The Chiefs defense sold all the way out to just absolutely shut Jonathan Taylor down and make Daniel Jones have to pass, whether or not he was comfortable with it, whatever. Is the mathing here?
Go ahead, Zach. I want to hear your take as an offensive lineman.
Well, I have a very offensive line meathead take about this because I understand that the stuff rate and all this stuff they were getting shut down. My problem is you got to do what got you here. And when you get late in the game, when you get the ball, you're up 5 minutes left to go in the game, and you come out and you throw 3 straight passes. I get it. We got to make first downs. We don't want to give Patrick Mahomes the ball, but at the same time, let's put the ball in our best player's hand with one of the best offensive line units. And a lot of times those are the moments those units get the recognition they do because they step up and make plays late in the game. So for me, I would have loved to see them keep handing the ball off and at least run some time off. You threw two incompletions, so you weren't advancing the ball anyway. At least have a shot at it. Now, Kansas City put a little bit of a blueprint out there to sell and stop the run. They're playing a lot of 5-man fronts. So that's something that Indy's going to have to get to and have a couple of go-to play calls. Hey, if these guys overload the box, if they put 5 guys across the line of scrimmage, we got to have a play or two to go to in those situations. But again, what got us there was handing the ball to Jonathan Taylor and controlling that football, and I would have loved to see that down the stretch.
Yeah, and I'm coming straight from the opposite side, right? The defensive side. And Steve Spagnuolo and the Chiefs defense have so much experience taking away other teams' top players. Like that is why they win Super Bowls. Obviously, Mahomes and Andy Reid, but they play top defense on the other side. They clearly made it clear that we're not going to let Jonathan Taylor beat us in this game. And they did that any which way you can do it. I mean, they max blitz, they pressure, and there's a lot of run plays that you can call. And I agree, Zach. Let's go down by giving, look, this is what we do. This is what got us here. Jonathan Taylor's legit MVP.
Yeah.
So you could argue he's the best player on the field. We got to give him the ball in the fourth quarter. Spagnuolo says, I'm going to blitz 2 off the edge. One's going to be unblocked. There's no run play that can get started versus those looks. And the RPO looks, run pass option. The quarterback is reading the line of scrimmage. Daniel Jones knows I run it versus a good look. If there's an extra guy unblocked, I got to pull it and I got to pass it. And the Chiefs are so used to dictating people's hand that they're saying, hey, all your RPOs are going to turn to passes in the fourth quarter because we don't want you to run it anymore. And we're going to bring all this pressure. And it doesn't make sense, I guess, schematically to run into those loaded boxes that the Chiefs were showing. So, Zach, I'll bring it back to you and I'll ask you, were there times where you kind of had no-brainer runs where we're running it regardless of box and count, and we're just going to do it in 4 minutes, meaning we're trying to ice the game. We're running it no matter what's up there. We're going to have to stick with the run. Dak's not canning it. Dak's not checking it. We are running into it.
Yes, absolutely. We had, run-to-run kills. And then, back to my point on, we had a set list of 2 or 3 plays that were like checks we called it a diamond front, whatever you want to call it, bear front, diamond front. 5 guys across the offensive line. So we had set plays that even if they weren't in our game plan specifically, and a team came out in that, those were plays we could get to. I'm not sure if Indy has something like that. I'm sure they do, but I would have liked to see them go a little bit more. I thought they did a good job in the first half of like sneaking the tight ends out of there, kind of getting the Chiefs overselling. I don't know if they got away from that, if the Chiefs just kind of started sniffing that out, but I would have liked to see more of that later in the game. If you are going to throw it, let's do these big, heavy run formations and sneak some guys out underneath and try to advance the ball that way.
One of the stats that's interesting that kind of dovetails from that stuff rate stack is the yards before contact. So in this game, the yards before contact afforded to Jonathan Taylor about half his normal, 0.7 in this game compared to 1.3 in other games. So I don't like things that are not like that's not causal. It's correlated to the fact that the Chiefs were getting behind. It wasn't causal, right? Like it wasn't directed to he couldn't get the O line wasn't terrible in this game. The play call and the design was doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And that's why I think that stat is skewed in this regard. It's interesting, but it's a rabbit hole to go down to see what happened. I was looking at it and I asked a couple of my offensive play caller friends. And I was like, what could Shane Steichen today look back and say, what do I want to do differently? And obviously I didn't ask Shane Steichen, but someone else was like, I think part of it, what it is, they had like maybe 7 things that they had put on that run call list and they needed to go to 10. something like that, something like that. So it is saying sort of the same thing you guys are saying, but I think when something didn't work, you have to adjust it enough so it works enough, not necessarily be perfect. I don't know. That's kind of my takeaway from that. Maybe
Well,
that's not the best English
that's
in the
my
world.
thing is like I don't think when I say hand the ball to Jonathan Taylor, I'm not saying, hey, you're gonna be pissed if they get 4 or 5 yards. Like a 3 yard gain in that situation is great, you know. So that's what I would like to see.
And I would say one more, Cynthia, just the aggression behind the play calling, right? Because the Colts were up 11 in the fourth quarter and lost the game
Yeah.
with the MVP candidate at running back. And it just wasn't aggressive. They had fourth down opportunities. They decided not to go and punt it back to Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and give them the long field. And we've seen this time and time again. And obviously, I've played in a lot of games. I've been in every scenario from losing leads to coming back. I played in the largest comeback in Super Bowl history. And, you know, the Falcons are up 28-3. And people said they need to run the ball. And we had loaded boxes. We had all out run blitzes. So they then said, let's keep the ball in our best player hand, Matt Ryan, and let's throw it around. And when that wasn't working, we were so aggressive on defense. And I believe the Falcons believe they were going to win the Super Bowl. And we believe we're going to win the Super Bowl. Neither of us thought it'll be 28-3 at any point. So we kind of came with the what do we have to lose? And the Falcons then came with the we have everything to lose because they at no point thought they'll be up that large in that game. So now they're playing it safe, clock watching. Do we run it? Do we pass it? We don't know. What do we do with this? And we're sending blitz after blitz, fighting for our life. And there was receivers in there on their team when they were passing the ball saying, why are we passing it right now? Why aren't we running it? I'm like, you don't want the ball to win the Super Bowl? What are you talking about? I'm thinking, oh, they're done because they're frustrated that they're not running. They're running, it's not working. Then they're passing incomplete. Now they're all have their hands up and we're just coming back. Here we go. We get a stop. Here goes Brady. Like we're fighting for it. And the Colts are like questioning, should we run it? Should we pass it? Should we punt this on 4th and 4? Should we go for it? You don't win championships like that. You don't knock out the Chiefs not being aggressive, in my opinion.
Would you rather want it like you're on the team, let's just say you're playing for the Colts defense even. Are you sitting there being like, "Fine, give it back to me," or are you sitting there being like, you know, "You should go for it." Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what, put it in my hands or not? Like, what do you think the mentality on the sideline was when the Colts are calling the punt there?
Look, I think some of that comes down to stats and analytics, and it comes out of the player's hands. Players always want aggression. If you go for it and don't get it, then I got to get your back as a defensive player, even if it's at midfield. If you punt it back, then you're saying it's on you, defense. Y'all got it. Okay, I got to stop. I got to get a stop anyway. We
Right.
got to stop Mahomes 4 times anyway, whether that's half the field or full field. Yes, the odds are full field's harder for him to score a touchdown. I agree. But if you get the first down, then I don't even have to go out there. So I always want the offense to be aggressive because on defense, you're trained to go out there in any situation and have to get a stop regardless. We don't say, well, it was only 40 yards and they scored on us, not our fault. They still drove 40 yards on us, right? So we still got to stop them 4 times.
Zach, what about you? Would you rather wanna in that situation, do you think Shane Steichen's being there, "I shoulda gone"?
I think so, especially listen, I'm not giving the ball back to Mahomes, right? I mean, let's go out there and get it and end the game. And not only that, like for the Colts too, like going into Arrowhead and getting a win, like what that could have brought to their team moving forward. Why not go out there and do it, right? Because the worst thing is you punt it away and exactly what happened. So I'm always into the aggressive play calls. I think it's great. Why not? The league is about scoring points, right? Why not give ourselves as many chances as possible to go out and score?
They still have 2 matchups left with the Texans. They don't even necessarily have a guaranteed win of their division after that
And the
crazy
Jags. They
start.
play they
So,
play the Jags twice too.
yeah, they don't even have, their division's not even in
Right.
hand, right? So it's not like the Chiefs were playing for everything and they were playing for almost nothing. It wasn't anything like that. Okay, so before we get to let's do one more on that side of the ball, and then we'll switch to the offensive side of the ball for the Chiefs. But I wanna talk about Daniel Jones here. So if you look at his or overall, just so his stat line overall, so we have it, 19 of 31 for 181 and 2 touchdowns. That's overall. 17 of his 31 attempts were in under 2.5 seconds. So that's 55% of his attempts, a little over half. That's more than his season average. Usually he only has to throw it quickly at about 43% of the time. But he only earned 72 yards on 12 quick completions. So what I'm saying here is to get away from Chris Jones factor here was not really working for them, because that sub 2.5 seconds is to stay away from Karlaftis, Chris Jones, etc. And it didn't really work. So what did you guys see on that from Daniel Jones?
I thought Daniel Jones started off really well. Now, unfortunately for him, he's going to always have the stigma until he steps up and wins a big game or in the playoffs, that everyone's going to be like, oh, here we go, Daniel Jones again. I thought in the first half he played well. He managed the game great. Now, obviously in the fourth quarter, I think he's 2 of 8 throwing the football. So obviously, hey, the Chiefs are selling out to stop the run. The Colts have confidence in Daniel Jones to make plays. It doesn't happen. So at the end of the day, people are going to feel the way they feel about him until he steps up in one of those big games and leads a game-winning drive or wins a big game at Arrowhead. Unfortunately for him.
Yeah, I think that the 2.5-second stuff, getting the ball out of his hand quickly, I think was by design on both teams. And I don't necessarily think it's just because of Chris Jones. It's because of how much pressure
Yeah.
the defense is bringing. They're bringing pressure. They're blitzing. That's what Spagnuolo does, right? He's confusing you. They're showing blitz. Then they're all dropping out. Oh, shoot, is that blitz? Is that not? Let me get rid of it. Oh, they're actually coming. Let me get rid of it. It's to get you uncomfortable. It's to get you not in rhythm. And the Colts want Daniel Jones to get the ball out quickly versus that pressure. Then it comes down to the playmakers on the outside. Everyone says a quarterback's job is to play point guard, right? Dish the rock, take care of it, dish the rock. But now you got to win one-on-one. And that's what the Chiefs do. Regardless who's at corner and DB, they challenge their DBs to go win and go tackle in space. And if your playmaker on offense, Michael Pittman or Tyler Warren, breaks that tackle, they make you pay for 40 yards like Rashee Rice does. And if he doesn't break that tackle, then the 3, 4, 5-yard gains don't really kill you. So it's all about making the quarterback get rid of the ball quickly, and then what do the playmakers do in space, right? And if you can tackle in open field, then those big plays don't happen. But if you don't, those 3-yard passes turn to 60-yard passes and really skew the stats based on what the throw really was.
And I can, on the protection piece that Logan was just talking about, like they're running these 5-man fronts 9 out of 10 times in the NFL. When you have a 5-man front, everyone has their own call. We have 5-0. We're making a 5-0 call. Means you're one-on-one with that guy across from you. Now, at the snap of the ball, people are dropping out. They're bringing them from other angles. You can get back late, but at the start, everyone's man-to-man. So you're really putting a stress on if you're keeping it back in protection, if you're going to have a free runner running through the A-gap. There's a lot of different things you can do as a defense when at the start they're going to make a 5-0 call and have to account for those 5 guys on the line of scrimmage to start.
That's brilliant. It also probably doesn't help Daniel Jones reputation-wise when he says something like, when I asked the Giants what to do in certain circumstances, they said not to worry about it. So that was some weird shade that the Giants got ahead of last week's game that I was like, oh, no, don't say that, buddy. Just don't say it. Anyways, moving on to the other side of the ball. You brought it up. All right, let's talk about cover 1 versus all other coverages for Patrick Mahomes. So cover 1, 47% of the time, 108 yards with his interception. Every other call, he went 21 of 29, so 72% for 244 yards. And we'll talk about the inbreakers next, but talk about that coverage specifically. With Lou Anarumo, he was kind of the guy who started the whole, like, this is how you specifically defend Patrick Mahomes I have a special game plan for Mahomes when he was the Bengals defensive coordinator in the Bengals Super Bowl season. So what does cover 1 mean, I guess, from a defensive standpoint, Logan, and what does that limit for Patrick Mahomes in that circumstance?
Well, first, I have all respect to Lou Anarumo, but Bill Belichick was the first one to really be beating Patrick Mahomes and winning some games there and showing Andy Reid some defense for years. Now they got Patrick Mahomes. They started getting some of theirs for sure, and Brady moved on. But the Patriots were defending the Chiefs for years pretty well in a lot of cover 1. Cover 1 is a single high, meaning there's only one safety in the middle of the field, right? And that other safety is down playing someone man-to-man. Zack referenced 5-0. That means everyone is man up. I got this cat, you got that cat. We call it cat coverage, just backyard football. I got him. Wherever they go, they can run twisty routes, they can run in circles, they can do burpees. I'm doing a burpee, whatever. I got to mirror somebody. And, obviously, that is that's an aggressive play call because you can bring pressure and you just man up and it's mano y mano. There's a lot of different things you can do with that. But it's hard to live in that with the Chiefs because that's what their defense does. So they practice against it a lot. So those receivers are used to it a lot from training camp. Two, Andy Reid is very creative with rubs and picks and meshes and making you run through traffic that makes it harder to play that coverage exclusively. I watched the tape, Cynthia. I looked at some of your stats. I think there was some man in there that you guys had, the computer filed it under zone. I don't really know how that goes, but the Chiefs ran away from the man-to-man coverage a lot by a lot of in-breaking, crossing routes, which we'll get to. So it's a hard thing to live in. You definitely need a balance of that against the Chiefs.
Yeah. So, all right. So, speaking of those in breakers, okay, Mahomes, 14 of 16. So, that's 88%, in case you're wondering, for 237 yards. And that's a 14.8 yard per attempt average. That's a career high for Mahomes. So, you rarely get a stat that's like, this is Mahomes' career high in terms of passing yards or yards per attempt here. That was a really, really important factor in this game. Of course, we could talk about some of the Rice stats against them, just like he was 7 of 8 for 122 against what was marked as zone or what is great against zone. And of course, he caught 6 for 136 of his 141 total yards in the seams. That one we got. That one I know. I feel there's no mismark on that one. So how did the in breakers work? What did you see there?
Well, Zach, what do you think? How many hours do you think Andy Reid, let's take the fan. How many hours do you think how many hours do you think a player puts in a week of work? And then how many hours do you think the coaches put in a week of work, Zach?
Outside of the building, like players-wise, you mean?
Yeah, what's your work day as a player, and then what's a coach's work day?
Yeah. Okay, work day as a player going from 7:30 to 4:30. Coach, you're probably looking at 6 to 11 p.m. plus.
Yeah. I mean, Andy Reid is there all day. I mean, at least 15-hour,
Yeah.
16 to maybe 18-hour work days, I think, especially when the games get bigger. A lot of those coaches sleep on the couch in the office. So if I'm Andy Reid, right, and my little hour podcast right now, I'm Andy Reid, and I'm playing against the Colts. I'm like, all right, what's their strengths on defense? Oh, they got this guy, Sauce Gardner, and they got this guy, Shavarius Ward, coming back off of a concussion. Oh, they're 2 all-pros. Okay, let's throw to the middle of the field. Why would we throw to their 2 all-pros? I understand they acquired 2 all-pros, but they're going to attack the middle of the field. They're going to attack the slot. They're going to attack the seams. They're going to run overs and crossers. Let's look at our roster. Who's our best players? Okay, we have Worthy, right? We have a lot and Hollywood Brown, a lot of speed. Okay, and then we have Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce. Let's target our 2 best players to attack the middle of the field, and let's get our fast guys and just run across and catch the ball in the middle of the field on the other side, right? And that's all they're doing, just exploiting where the Colts aren't weak, but weaker, not where their strengths at. And that's, in my opinion, basic game planning. That's why I picked Rashee Rice to have a big game, because they have to win.
Mhm.
The Colts have all this money on the outside. They clearly need to attack the inside, and he's their inside wide receiver. And what do you know? He has a big game, and they destroy the inside of the field because the Chiefs are that smart and that good of coaches and players and play callers, which is Andy Reid. That's why he has a lot of Super Bowls.
And not to mention, Logan speak on this, rush and cover work together, right? If you're playing man-to-man, I don't care how good you are at corner. It's the same thing of being an all-pro left tackle. I don't care how you're good at left tackle. If you're going against the Micah Parsons, you got about 4 seconds, no matter what. So the ability for Mahomes to use his speed at times to get out of space, I mean, you just don't have, you're not going to be able to stick on a guy for that long running across the field.
You talk about the yards after contact or yards after the catch too. I say contact for Rice too, because he did get contacted. He just broke through the contact. So, he had a career high with 103 yards after contact, 41 of those. So, I mean, Rice, you're right. The big player showing up and being, just so you know, in the first half, the first 9 drives of the game, Gardner and Ward, they were targeted 5 times combined. They allowed 0 catches across 6 Colts man coverage snaps in the final 2 defensive drives. Ward was targeted 4 times. He allowed 2 catches for 50 yards, and Gardner allowed 1 catch for 8 yards. So just to kind of add some more stats to what you were saying before, I want to talk about losing Trey Smith, though. Mid-game, half the game. You obviously saw it with Kareem Hunt's production they're not a strong run team to begin with. Patrick Mahomes is their most explosive rusher, but that's a really big loss. The O-line for the Chiefs, I think, obviously they spent a lot of money on him in free agency, but that kind of negates some of the no DeForest Buckner being there for the
Yeah.
Colts. What did you see from them, Zach, without Trey in the
Yeah,
second half?
he's an X factor for that offense. He's their bully out on the field, and when you lose a guy like that, even not only the way he's playing, but just the energy in the huddle when you don't see that guy that you can tell guys lean on out there. And he's an excellent blocker, but when you turn on the Kansas City Chiefs tape, watch how many times he's pushing the pile forward for an extra 1-2 yards. It's amazing how many times 65 is in the mix pushing that pile. And when he's not out there, those 2-yard runs are 2-yard runs. They're not 2-yard runs turning into 4-yard runs as it goes. So it's a
Right.
big miss, and hopefully he gets back because with Dallas and their guys they've been getting in trades, their interior defensive line is as good as it gets, I think, right now. So hopefully he's all right and he can get back in the action soon.
I mean, no, if they're playing with a replacement for him and it's Quinnen
Mm.
Williams,
You gotta have a protection plan for him. You gotta put 2 on him.
that's a problem.
Yeah,
That
that's a
coach
problem.
got to spend about 20 hours this
Yeah,
week. Got to
he may
start
be
drawing.
getting the air mattress out.
You got to, yeah. You're not seeing your family this Thanksgiving. I'm sorry.
That's right. Well, they're on Thanksgiving, so luckily, it'll be right in the middle, smack dab in the middle of everyone's day. It'll be interesting. I mean, if there's one thing from that game that I took away, I'm curious if you guys did this too. The end of the game, the play calling I thought was a little wild. And then, I think Patrick Mahomes' legs, not necessarily throwing on the run, because in this game that was not a strength of his, but he had four sort of rushing attempts, scramble attempts, and one of them went for more than 10 yards. And it just feels like whenever Patrick Mahomes starts to get out of the pocket or move, the defense, it froze a little bit. They didn't have as many answers in that. And is that Patrick Mahomes? Is that what do you, Logan, what did you see from that? Or do you disagree?
No, I agree. Look, the Chiefs aren't done yet. And that's what that game proved to me because the Colts are having a really good year. But if they had to play in the playoffs tomorrow, I'd probably pick the Chiefs to win that game. They're just not done yet. And I think we try to not write them off. We thought Denver ended them. Like, all right, they're not winning one-score games this year, but they just have so much knowledge and experience in these moments, and you have to stay aggressive because they believe they can win out. They believe that. They believe they can win every single game. I promise you, when I was a New England Patriot, I swear to God, I thought I was gonna win every single game I played in. I never if we lost the game, I was truly, utterly shocked because that's just not what we prepared. That's not what we talked like. That's not what Brady acted like every single day. We were supposed to win every single day game, and if we didn't, it was a bad week the next week for us in the meeting. So I just believe the Chiefs are still like that, and no matter their season hasn't gone perfectly, they've played up and down the last few years. They still found a way to win those games. This year they haven't, but now they just won one.
Yeah.
So I think the Chiefs are still in this race, and if they get in there, I'm telling you, a lot of these top teams in the AFC don't wanna see them in the first round.
No.
Absolutely not. I have a question from a player standpoint because I can give you a math answer, but we had a lot of overtime games. So to wrap up week 12, we had some overtime this week. Whether or not it was good overtime, Lions, what were you doing? But whatever. I'm curious if you would want so now with the new overtime rules, right? You each get a possession unless someone runs the whole clock out with that first possession. So question, do you want the ball first or do you want the ball second when you know what you have to do? So if I'm the Colts, do I want to be the first one to have the ball, or do I want to know what Patrick Mahomes did so then I can use all 4 downs to try to match it or exceed it?
I think you got to go second. I mean, with the new rules, I mean, you just what you just said. You know what you have and what you need to go get. Right, like the Chiefs get the ball back and they're sitting back like, oh man, you're telling me we just got to go down and kick a field goal? Like I think the pressure comes way off Patrick Mahomes when he knows all he's got to do is get to the 35-yard line and kick a game-winning field goal. So with the new rules, I don't really. We saw in the Super Bowl a couple years ago with Sam Fran taking it first, and I don't really understand that with the rules nowadays.
I thought yours a trigger question for me, Cynthia.
I'm not trying to trigger you.
Yeah, I played in the Super Bowl, where we took the ball first and it didn't work out for us. So I think second because the offense knows how many downs they have. Fourth down, you can call 4 plays to get a first down instead of 3, You go first, you have to punt, if you 3 plays, you got to punt or you got to have a decision to make where obviously you need a field goal, you don't have to punt on 4th down on your own 20. You have 4 plays. So for that alone, I think is the biggest thing. But I always said this about that Super Bowl when people ask me as a defensive player, did you want to go first or want to go second? It For a defensive player, you have to get a stop regardless, right?
Doesn't
If
matter.
they
Yeah.
drive down and score a touchdown on us and our offense goes second and they don't score a touchdown, their defense got the stop. We didn't. They win. So we got to hold
Right.
them and stop them regardless what they need because we know what they need too, right? They need 3, they need 7. We have to do our jobs and get a stop. So I get it, strategy and all that stuff, but defensively, you have to still get a stop, hopefully, in overtime to normally win the game.
So, of course, I'm in a nerdy analytics chat, like with people who work at various teams, and we have a fight. It's a true fight. There is a camp that believes that you should take the ball first because then you get the third possession, right? So something goes wrong. Technically, there are typically 3 possessions in 10 minutes. That is their argument. I fall into the camp of I think you should go second for the 4th down for the fact that you have 4 tries instead of 3 tries. To me, that's just one more try, a guaranteed try, right? Like, because I don't always believe that there will be a third possession because if I'm a smart team, like, or a very run heavy team, then are we getting to a third possession? I don't know. So there isn't enough data yet to have a definitive, like, there's enough, you have to have a certain number of playoff game or of overtime games where this has happened to see. But so my point is that the Niners, that was their strategy. They're one side of the camp. Going second, that's another side of the camp, and no one's right or wrong. But I don't know. I just was curious as a player what it felt like because I'm always baffled by it. I see the math for both sides though.
I don't for the third possession side at
I don't
all.
either. The third
There's no
possession is
guarantee as a third
crazy to
possession.
me. That's crazy to me.
Right, there's no
It
guarantee.
feels a little crazy to me because I think the value of a 4th down means you can change 3rd down, so it kind of changes your strategy on 2 downs as whatever. So I told you what mine is, so I told you where I fall on
You're
this
also
one.
thinking you're not
Let's
going to
hope
score on
we
the first possession. If you're thinking about third possession, then you just, what about the
Yeah,
first
I don't
possession?
even think I don't even think it's American football. I think that's like soccer or something. We're talking about what? Like, okay, we don't score on the first one. We'll just then we'll stop them and then we'll get it back for the third in time. I don't even know people consider time in overtime. Like no one thinks about the tie. That happens so few and far between. There obviously are ties, but the logic of we want the third
I hate ties.
possession, that I would be surprised if Kyle Shanahan said that was the reason why he took the ball first.
I
I don't
I
think that
will
was
tell
his
you the
reason.
teams. I will tell you offline which teams believe
They don't need
which.
to be a
I
GM.
don't I just don't wanna out them
I
on
hope they're
here
not a
because
GM of one of my teams because that ain't it, in my opinion.
I think you'd be surprised. I think you'd be surprised. Anyways, all right, so let's move on to a Black Friday preview. Obviously, Bears and Eagles. Interesting matchup in this one. The Eagles drop a game to the Cowboys. We'd love any, obviously, feedback on that first. And then the Bears are surging. This is their second 4-game win streak this season. That was I've seen them do some weird things, meaning the stats are not clean for either team, really. I just want to know, like, what are your first impressions? Zach, maybe start with you. Obviously, nobody knows Cowboys and Eagles don't like each other, so it's we can talk about that for a second too. But how do you spin it forward? What did you see from this team, especially the Eagles, in their loss to the Cowboys, and how does that match up against the Bears?
Yeah, the Eagles, a lot of what we just talked about with the Colts. I mean, I just can't get my head around. I know the Eagles weren't running it great on Sunday, but Saquon Barkley's got to get more than 10 touches. At sooner or later he's going to break one and he's going to get it going. So they've got to reinvent the run game and get it back going because they play their best football when they're running it. Obviously their defense poses some mismatch and they're a good unit, but offensively, if they're not running the football, they come one dimensional. I mean, I was watching that second half on Sunday, and I don't know. Saquon may had 2 or 3 carries in the second half, and they're dropping back. And I can tell you right now, everyone on that Dallas defense was saying thank you because as well as they were shutting him down, they know at any moment he can make a play and make everyone look dumb. So um, I think they gotta go back to the well and they gotta figure out a way to start running the football efficiently.
All right, I think the Eagles have a disease of me problem. I think when you win a Super Bowl, unfortunately, that's the standard every single year. So, and if you don't win the last game of the year, you're not happy. And everyone says, cliche, well, there's only gonna be one happy team at the end of the year. No, the Commanders were happy last year. They were happy they made it that far. There are plenty of teams and coaches that are happy they made it to the playoffs. There are plenty of teams that are happy they went second in the division. There are plenty of teams right now where they're like, Colts, dang, we're still having a good year though. If they don't Colts don't win the Super Bowl, they're gonna be happy because it was
Yes.
a really good year for them. If the Eagles don't win a Super Bowl, no one's gonna be happy in Philly. And they're feeling that and they're dealing with that because they saw what it's like when it all goes right. They saw what it's like when Saquon has a career year, Jalen Hurts is MVP, AJ Brown's going off, Smitty has a huge play in the touch in the Super Bowl, and they have the number one defense. It doesn't work like that every year. And one thing I do know is repeating in sports the hardest thing to do. And we never did it as the Patriots. We went a lot, and I know I'm always talking about the Patriots, but just the winning experience that I had. But it's like Tom Brady did not care. He did not care if he threw it 50 times against the Bills, and then next week we ran it 50 times against the Colts because the Colts had a weaker run defense back then. And that's truly how we played, how he commanded to play, right? And I think the problem with the Eagles is we always are tracking touches because AJ Brown was going. They got AJ Brown involved, but they lost the game, and then Saquon didn't get his touches. But did Devontae Smith get enough? It's just so much monitoring touches and not about what do you need to do to win the game, right? Xavier Worthy did not go off, but they won the game. Rashee Rice did, right? So what do the Eagles need to do to win the game? And that can look different from week to week. But if it doesn't look good enough for AJ Brown, the fans get mad or someone's not happy. If it doesn't look good enough for Saquon, and winning hides it all, but now when you lose, it's like, oh, it's all bad. But they're like 8-3. So to me, I think the problem is they don't have a selfless identity this year to just care about winning more than anything else. They care about how it looks and winning, and winning's hard enough.
So who wins this one? What, Zach, what do you think?
I think Philly. I think again, I'm in the camp. I think Chicago's had a good year, but I'm still until they do it. I'm not going to go against the Eagles because on paper they've got a hell of a team, and if they put it together, then maybe that was a game that woke them up. You never know. Sometimes teams need that. We talked about the Chiefs. They won a tight game, and now who knows what they're going to do. So maybe that was what Philly needed to get kickstarted. But I still will die on that hill that Philly, unless they run the ball, they're not going to be what they were last year.
Logan, who wins? Do the Bears stand a
The Bears
chance?
stand
What's
a
going
Bears
on?
stand a huge chance. I really wanna pick the Bears, but I just think the Phillies defense is getting sounder. Even though Dak, came back, Chicago doesn't pass the ball like Dallas does. So I think that Philly's defense will be sound and their offense has a little bit more. But I think it'll be really, really tight. And I'll tell you what, the Eagles can't afford to lose this one. Just off morale and what's going on. The Bears can be okay if they lose this one, even though the division's tight. I know that. But they're feeling good because of how good they're doing, surprising themselves or us. But if Philly loses this one, this will be a season type of shakeup, in my opinion. I think they have more on the line for Philly. How they handle that, I gotta see. But I think it's a really, really good game. I really like what Chicago's doing. All they're doing stat-wise is winning. Like, I don't know how much they're passing for. I don't know how much they're rushing for. I know that all their linebackers are hurt, and they're still finding ways to win, and, like, that's all we care about. And I
Yep.
think Ben Johnson has taught them the most important thing, which is finding ways to win, and I think they're playing like a team. So I would not be
Yep.
surprised at all. I wouldn't be shocked if Chicago wins. I think this is like a one-point spread, in my opinion. I think Philly pulls it off, but I wouldn't be surprised if Chicago's right there.
I mean, for me, it comes out of the trenches. They have O-line injuries on both sides, and the team that is better suited to handle an O-line injury against a less pressure front, well, that would be the Eagles, right? I'm not saying it's easy to overcome Lane Johnson being there. I just don't think Chicago's bringing the heat that Philly's going to be able to bring on the opposite side of the ball. Caleb Williams, you're right. Like his completion percentage is like sub 60%, like most of the season. So it's not like he's lighting the world up with these crazy Dak Prescott like passes, but they're finding ways to win. They're using Kyle Monangai. It's a really fun name to say, but ahead of the season, we weren't talking about Kyle Monangai, like it's a fun name to say, so I'll just keep saying it. But I'm looking at that and thinking, all right, like they're doing a great job. They're playing with house money at this point. I mean, the fact that they're having 8 wins is more than they were probably expecting with the regime change. They did spend a lot of money on their interior O line, but still a lot to be solved from them. And I just haven't seen their defense put up the kind of fight that you're going to have to put up against the Eagles team with every week we hear about how Kevin Petula needs to be fired. Like, I mean, Eagles fans are very loud, so they say it the most, but there's a reason he's not, right? They're figuring things out. They'll work it through. And I think in this game, you're right. I think they need it more, but I also think that their ability to withstand an O-line injury is greater than the Bears' ability to withstand their O-line issues against the Eagles defense. That's kind of how it breaks down for me, at least. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
I agree. Jonah Jackson's out. I mean, he's going to be matched up with Jalen Carter all day. So they're, right off the bat, you're putting 2 on. When we talk about the game records inside a lot on here when I'm on, and they got another one. So they're going to have to put 2 on Carter, and then that frees up the rest of those guys to get after it. So I do, obviously, Tooney has been a great add for Chicago, and he's given some stability inside. But, with Jonah Jackson at right guard being out, and then having a couple of young guys at tackle, left tackle specifically, obviously, Wright has been playing a lot better at right tackle. But there's just Philly's got a lot of guys that can rush and a lot of different ways they can get after you on defense.
Yeah, in order for Chicago to win, I think what they would have to do though is turn the ball over, and they have
Yeah.
been doing that at an extremely high rate. The defense,
They have.
Kevin Byard is leading the league in turnovers. He does that pretty much every year. I mean, if you don't know his name, I think you'll know he also was an Eagle briefly, and they moved on from him. So I'm sure revenge is always served best dish served cold, or whatever they say about that. So
Mhm.
I'll try to get a Thanksgiving reference in there. I couldn't do it quick enough. But
It's the day after, like
there you go.
leftovers,
So
There's a leftover reference there. It's the day
there you
after. It's
go.
Black Friday. He don't want to be a
Yeah,
leftover. He's no
leftover
leftover.
turkey
He is the
sandwich is
first
better the
course.
next day, I think.
There we go.
Yeah, so all those guys are turning the ball over. So if Jalen Hurts takes care of the ball, it should be Philly. But if Chicago's opportunistic with the interceptions, then
Love
you
it.
got a game.
And
I love that. Okay, so
Logan can talk about this more, but I feel like defensive, at least the years in Dallas, like some of those years when you're getting turnovers, it's just like your year. They keep coming week in and week out, and you catch the turnover like fire almost. So they got to keep that going to have a chance for sure.
Yeah, turnovers in the NFL, every coach, Zack, probably been in all the meetings like I have. It's always like, we got to win the turnover battle. Offense, we got to take care of the ball. Defense, we got to take it away. Like that is like what the game's about, because there's so much metrics on extra possessions and if you get it. But interceptions, some of these turnovers when they're really flashy and stuff, that's like having an alley-oop dunk. I know it counts the same as a layup,
yes,
but the momentum of the offense, the momentum of the defense, like, "Oh my god, did you see that play?" Or like a pick six. Yes, it's a touchdown, but the momentum that it brings your offense sprints off the bench, right? And
Oh,
they go
so
finish,
happy. Gonna go kick a PAT and then run back to the bench. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's, they don't like that one, I guess.
Well, let's keep the momentum of this show going. I already offended Logan before, but now I'm going to make him very happy because I have a very special stat for you. This is now the second instance that 4 or more divisions have 3 or more teams with 6 or more
Ooh.
wins entering week 13. So it just means we have a few really, really good divisions. It's the second time since 2002 that that's happened. That's when divisional realignment happened. So we kind of can't count it before then. When was the other time? 2014. The 4 divisions at this point were the AFC East, the AFC North, the AFC West, and the NFC West. And 2 of those divisions represented in the Super Bowl that season, New England and Seattle.
Oh.
And What happened?
Got my first Super Bowl ring right there, yeah. I didn't know the AFC East was that good that year. They always said we had a cakewalk to this to our division, but, I didn't realize so who are the teams in our division? The Bills were good and the Jets? Yeah,
I believe it might have been the Dolphins and the Jets.
really? Yeah, the Bills probably
At
had,
that
like,
point, yeah.
EJ Manuel or something, yeah, for sure. Um,
Mhm. Yeah.
what do you know no, look, this is a wide open I don't know, Zach, we've been in football a long time. This is the most wide open year I've seen.
I
Like,
couldn't agree more.
I
I
think
mean, we talked the Rams a little bit,
The
but
Rams have taken a step. We both kind of predicted that. We knew what they have and Sean McVay and Stafford in our offense.
yep,
And but I mean, the AFC,
AFC is wide
I
open.
don't know. I honestly, I think you might see the most upsets in the playoffs than we've ever seen, from lower seeds beating higher seeds, because there's so many
Yeah.
quarterback injuries. Baltimore's now coming back. They might be a 4 seed, and all these teams we're talking about, were the Chiefs even going to make the playoffs? What about Dallas? What if they get in? You know, Dallas playing somebody, they play the Eagles really well every time they play. So it's the most wide open year of playoff football that I can remember. And I've been watching football 30 years of my life, and I haven't seen anything like this wide open in a long time.
Yeah, you usually feel like right now there's like 6 teams that could win,
Yeah,
kind of
Yes.
3
oh,
on
it's
either
gonna be
side.
Chiefs first too.
Like, it's one
Right.
of these few teams, handful of teams or something like this, right? Like, so it's definitely interesting. But Zach, we need to have a little story time with you since we have you here this week. It's Thanksgiving. So of course, Cowboys, by the way, if you need trivia to tell your family, because sometimes we need a little trivia to help our families. So the Lions have played the most games on Thanksgiving. The Cowboys have played the second most games on Thanksgiving. And the team that has played the third most games on Thanksgiving, the Packers. All right. Anyways, so there's some trivia if you need to keep like if things get awkward at the table, or for any of our audience, they could be like, "Hey guys, I got some stats for you." So there you go. But tell us a little bit about this Eagles rivalry or playing on Thanksgiving just in general.
Yeah, so obviously, I mean, Cowboys, Eagles, I don't know if there's other rivalries like this, but since I was there, we hated each other. And I looked at some stats, kind of cool. Since 2014, which is my rookie year, 12 and 12, Dallas and Philly, and those in 12 years. So, and there's only been they've both only had 1 year where they've swept the other one. So that's why I think there's a lot of confidence going in that game Sunday. It's hard to sweep each other in a season. But it definitely is the biggest game of the year. I think, I heard a lot of people saying, Philly fans say, oh, this is Dallas's Super Bowl, blah, blah, blah. The game is very big to us. No lie. I mean, it is a big game. And not to mention when you beat a team like Philly, especially when when they're good and they had 8 wins going into the season, that gives a huge chunk of confidence to that Cowboys team. And, I know those guys believe down there that they're going to make a run at this thing and get into the playoffs. So that was kind of the first game to springboard them into that journey. But a lot of memorable games with the Eagles, always Sunday night or primetime games. We had a 2016, we won in overtime. Dak threw a touchdown to Witten at the last minute of overtime, and so a lot of great memories in that Philly Dallas game. But I think the biggest thing to think of is like we hate each other. The two teams do not like each other. You roll into that stadium, you're getting the grandmas flipping you off. You're getting the eggs at the bus. You're getting it all. So, and I also love the rivalry because it's the only place really where I feel like we're an away team. Honestly, playing for the Cowboys, you go to most stadiums we're gonna have a lot of fans at. I mean, it really doesn't matter where we're at. Philly is the one spot where it is going to be no Dallas fans. So I always enjoyed playing in Philly and had a lot of great games there.
Did you have a particular favorite person that you matched up against, like to line up
Yeah,
across from?
Fletcher. I mean, I've talked about it before, but Fletcher Cox, I would say, was kind of my rival throughout my whole career. We played 20 times versus each other, and
Wow.
I can remember that 2016 overtime game when we scored. I was so tired, I didn't even go celebrate. I just almost took a knee on the field. I was so tired blocking that dude all game. But a lot of memorable matchups versus him. I got mine. He got his. It was always a great battle.
So is there do you what is your feeling on Philly fans? Do you respect them because of how they're passionate they are, or are they just taking it too far in your opinion?
I actually do respect him because I feel like they, more than any team, and I'll probably get in trouble for saying this. I mean, I hate Philly. Just let me put that out there. I hate them. But I do think that their connection between city and team is better than anyone in the NFL. So there's that side where I'm like, dang, that's pretty cool that the city almost feels a part of that team. So I always
Mhm.
thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I played for the
I mean, I
Giants.
look
We
at those
hated you
Philly
too,
fans.
for sure. We hated
Yeah,
everyone
yeah.
hates the Cowboys in that division. I don't know if we were as competitive as the Eagles when I was there with you guys, but Dallas brings that everyone has an uncle that's a Dallas fan.
Yeah. See, that's where
That's
I
right.
think my window, like Dallas or Philly was our team, right? So, in other eras, it was Washington or New York, but in my era, it was definitely Philly.
I think, like, if you didn't have a respect for the entire NFC East, all of those fan bases, like, really love their teams,
Yep.
like, just such a passionate way. Same thing with, like, the AFC North as well, whatever. So the NFC North too, whatever. So the teams who really I think there's no good rivalry if you don't respect the fans' love of their team. You
Right.
can not like the fans, or you can not like Philly, but, like, they like their team, and otherwise it's no fun. Because otherwise, if they didn't really care, then
Yeah, and it
whatever.
and it it
So
brought out that, like, true us versus the world mentality when you roll into Philly for, like, a Sunday night game, and there's not a better feeling than going out and playing there and winning there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Okay, so last week we did some predictions and Logan nailed it. Rasheed Rice had the most receiving yards in the game. I was close, but I missed on David Montgomery didn't score a touchdown because Jahmyr Gibbs was just like running away with everything. But I told the Giants fans, and I have promised the Giants defense that I'm going to pick on them until they stop allowing running backs to smoke them for tons of yards. So I guess I know what I'm going to say about them again this week. Anyways, but so I was half right on that because Jahmyr Gibbs did do it. So let's just like only Thanksgiving or Black Friday games prediction. So those 4 games, we get 4 to choose from. We didn't really touch on it, but the third game is Cincinnati at Baltimore, and Joe Burrow will be returning in that one. But no T. Higgins. He's out with a concussion, just so we kind of have the table set, if you
Mm.
will. So what are we going to put for our predictions this week? Logan, since you got it right, you go first.
Yeah, rolling off of a heater last week. Look, I'm going something different with my prediction this week. So, you guys know I work for CBS, and CBS was hoping and anticipating, and I think they're going to deliver. This is going to be the most watched regular season Christmas game, or sorry, regular season game ever on Thanksgiving. And it's going to be Dallas Chiefs. Just because of how both teams coming off of overtime or, overtime victories, their playoff stakes, their chances, what Dak needs to do, what Mahomes needs to do. I mean, it is such a classic thrill of a matchup. This game could have been very like, let's turn the TV off if Dallas is 3-7 and the Chiefs aren't making the playoffs this year. So the stakes of this game, the performances both those teams have of knocking off top teams in their conference, just yeah,
Huge.
it's gonna be honestly one you gotta hope for a good Thanksgiving Day game, and this is definitely gonna deliver, and I think CBS is gonna be fortunate to call it, but it could go down as the most watched regular season game ever, which is, like, one of the most watched shows in America ever, because
Oh,
that's how many people
yeah.
watch football on Thanksgiving. I know CBS is anticipating that, was hoping for that, and I think they're gonna deliver it.
I mean, by the way, every year, like 90 or more of the top 100 most viewed shows in the year are all football games. So if this one's going to be number one of that, it's just going to be, even crazier. So, all right, Zach, what's yours?
I'm going to the same game. I'm going to parlay my prediction here. I'm going to
Ooh.
give 2 parlay. I'm going to go with the
Mm.
Cowboys win, and then I'm gonna my guy is going to get back on track. I know what this guy's made of. I've seen it firsthand. CeeDee Lamb, 2 touchdowns. They're going to have a lot of eyes on Pickens, and C's going to get back on track.
Wow, that's
Well,
big right there. He doubled it,
Mm.
doubled
I
down.
love it. I love it. I love it. Well, I stay away from the Lions on Thanksgiving because just so you know, okay, so they kind of flip flop every year. They win or lose. So last year they won, which terrifies me. So I'm staying the heck away from that game because my heart's too invested. So I'm gonna actually talk about Joe Burrow in his return. I believe that he and Jamar Chase will connect for at least 1 touchdown in this matchup. No T. Higgins. I know that is almost not possible mathematically for them to make the play. I mean, it's possible, but it's very unlikely that the Bengals will make the playoffs. However, nobody loves to play spoiler more than a cross-division rival, and they could really mess things up for the Ravens. I don't necessarily think the Bengals win, but I think Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase coming back off of, being suspended for a game, whatever, and I think in this I think we see a touchdown from those 2.
I like that.
I'm excited to see him. I'm excited to just watch him play. I mean, I feel like the Bengals have been on prime time every weekend, and now we get number 9 out there and get to see him at full force.
He's back.
Like,
I d
force.
He's back. The Bengals defense, someday, Logan, you're gonna have to explain to me what's going on with the Bengals defense. So, yeah, because I don't get it. I watch it and I'm like, "Do you just not want to stop people?"
I don't believe they think they can. I think it comes down to belief a lot of times. And
Mm.
new DC Al Golden, they were excited. He was really good in college. Obviously, he's been a great coach everywhere he's been. But sometimes not just the coaching and the players, something's missing, right? And whatever it is, you need an identity, and they don't have one. You give up a lot of yards, but you get turnovers. You can do this, but you get a lot of sacks. Whatever it is, then we're going to stop the run. They're not doing anything well enough. But with Joe Burrow back, I hope he
Well,
brings the Batmobile. That's somebody and I hope he brings the cape too, because that's somebody that could spark enough belief where he helps the other side of the ball play better sometimes too. 'Cause the fact he's back in the building.
yeah, no, I mean, he's certainly a game changer for sure, so
And
I
that
just
is
hope we
such
see
an
at least
X
one.
factor, like what Logan's talking about, this belief thing. You get me fired up talking about how you guys were in New England always believe. Like, that is so true. I mean, that is 90% of the game is walking into a game and thinking, and everyone, not just you or the whole team, thinking like, we're gonna win this game. I mean, that is 90% of it. So hopefully with Burrow coming back, they start to get some belief back in that locker room.
And Zach, and you knew when you guys were rolling in Dallas, it's not only believing, but it's knowing how.
Yes. Yeah.
Executing. Like, okay, we're down 8. We have 4 minutes.
Yeah.
We just gotta get a stop, get the ball back. Tom's gonna drive down. We're gonna go for 2. Could we practice that every week? We're gonna get that. And
Yeah.
then we gotta get one more stop. Maybe we can get Gostowski to the 35 to get a field goal. Like, we all knew what we
Yep.
had to do to get it done. We weren't sitting there saying, I don't know, should we run it? Should we pass it? Should Saquon touch it more? Should AJ touch it? It was like we're on one line of what had to be executed down the stretch, and that's why the same teams are good every year, and the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl every year when they shouldn't be, but they're so good at executing when it matters, which is the 6 minutes left in the 4th quarter. Their players believe. Spagnuolo's aggressive. He's not afraid that Andy Reid's gonna be mad if he calls a blitz. Andy Reid's doesn't have anyone looking over his shoulder about his play calling, and they're gonna do what they gotta do, and their players, like Mahomes, truly believes on the field that he can do it. And Joe Burrow's a man that truly believes that he can win this game because he's done it. He's done it on the road. He's done it, took them to a Super Bowl when no one could believe that's possible in Cincinnati. And that's why you root for organizations and players like that.
I love it.
So give me one coach that's maybe not ahead. Maybe don't go with Bill or like one that we've heard of, right? Is there any one other player or coach that really helped you kind of believe and execute? Like who's the Jameis Winston, if you will, to kind of call back from that earlier? Is there someone that maybe we aren't thinking of that you can, because it's the season of being grateful. So I'm grateful to my coaches, and I never played in the Super Bowl, and I'm still grateful to them. Name one, Logan.
Look, I think he's obviously everyone's gonna know his name, but Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel brings belief to an organization. You can't quantify why they're winning every week, right? And you can't quantify how well Drake May's playing so soon and why Travion Henderson doesn't play at all. And then when he does well. Like, there's belief in that building, and he does a really good job of telling you exactly what you need to do. And if you do it, guys, if you do it, if we stop the run and we have Drake do this and we do that, we're gonna win the game. And that's what we believe in Tennessee, from being the Tennessee Titans to a number 1 seed, right? And that's what he's obviously doing in New England. It's something you can't quantify, but he brings the belief and execution that I'm talking about.
By the way, Zach, before we get to you, I can't not give you credit for how epic that was, from being the Tennessee Titans to the 1 seed. 'Cause like very, very,
Yo,
very diplomatic
every
right there.
stat when I got there, right? I left the I my last game was the New England Patriots Super Bowl, right? I go to sign a Tennessee in free agency, and they haven't been in a Super Bowl obviously since, Kevin Dyson and Eddie George and them, right? That's like 2 decades or something. And every stat was We haven't beat the Colts at home in 15 years. We haven't won 3 games in a row in 27 years. We haven't, and every stat was just like a losing stat. And we were like breaking stats that I'm like, why are we even talking about this? How does it feel about beating the Colts for the first time in 18 years? Like, I had nothing to do with the 18. If Peyton Manning isn't here anymore, we're gonna win some games now. It's just like so much like negative history that we had. Vrabel's like, stop talking to my players about that stuff. But
It's
that
great.
was the
It's great.
Titan
I
of
I had
old.
to point out, very, very good job. Very, very well done. That is why you are now a world-class broadcaster as well, because you snuck that in there. All right, Zach, do you have a player
Yeah,
or coach
I'll
that
go.
helped
I'll
you?
go player because I had some coaches, but I'll go player. And I saw this guy. He just is got announced. He's a semifinalist for the Hall of Fame this year. But Jason Witten for me was that guy. I mean, talk about a professional and a guy who prepared the right way, who came in every day. I mean, this guy's year 16 yelling at coaches because they're taking him out of OTA practices because he wants the reps. So, like, this guy just exuded everything you wanted to be a football player in this league, and he was always someone that gave me the belief and someone that I looked up to early in my career.
Ah, that's amazing. Well, I am grateful for both of you. Thank you so much for hanging out. Have great Thanksgiving. Safe travels, Logan. Make sure you get back from Logan,
Utah.
Utah, back home safely and enjoy everything with your family. I'll see you guys back here next week.